Earlier, somebody posted on Threads saying, "Do you believe in God? Why or why not?" When I found that post, 45 people had seen it. Nobody said a word. I thought that was a bit of a shame. Well, I spent 15 minutes. The time limit for videos on Threads is 5 minutes, but I didn't feel like I could fit everything I wanted to say in that 5-minute window. But I tried. I started trying to speed up what I was saying, but that's icky as far as I'm concerned. So I left the person a message saying, I'll make a 10-minute video or something like that if you want to hear my answer to this question, because I've spent 15 minutes already, trying to share my perspective, but it just didn't fit into 5 minutes. So I said, if you want to hear my perspective, let me know. If you'll watch the video, I'll make it for you. Well, they didn't say anything, but somebody else did, and that's why this video is here. Do you believe in God? Why or why not? There is so much I could say about this. So it has been a little bit tricky to find just exactly what I want to say. But to start with, I will say, don't drop your grain of salt. And don't let me tell you what to believe. That's your job. The way I see it, the Bible has been pushed around with a lot of fear, but as far as I've been looking, fear is the opposite of faith. Fear is to constrict and contract, but faith is to expand and relax. Apparently, it says 365 times, one for every day of the year, in the Bible, be not afraid, be afraid not. But I don't ever hear anybody talk about that. All I hear is people talking about the fear of God. But they say God is love. I hear people talk about God all the time, but they don't seem to associate the notion of God, with the notion of infinity. So what does that mean? Is God finite? I see a lot of people play God by saying, that's not God, this is God. Slicey dicey, nicey spicy. That's not God, this is God. I figure, in a way, that's a good thing, because I feel like we are the eyes and ears and taste buds of the divine. It says in the Bible, there's one part in the Bible where somebody says, "Who sent you?" And the fellow says, "I am that I am." I say, which one? That I am. Well, where's it at? I don't see it. I don't see him. I don't see her. Where's your God at? I am. That I am. We all have one. Who? I am. From what it appears, people have been saying for way over 3,000 years that the voice is power, which I figure also means imagination and belief. is power. It would sure seem so. If voice wasn't power, if voice and belief were not power, then nobody would tell you to shut up. Nobody would look at your authentic, genuine expression and say, "That's stupid. You're making a fool of yourself." If voice, imagination, and belief were not power, when somebody said, "You being you exactly the way you are is stupid," it wouldn't affect them. And nobody would have any reason to say it. There's a number of people that, from how it appears to me, they will utilize their free will to argue that there is no free will. But the way I see it is, free will is a choice. But if nobody told you you were making that choice, then you never knew you were. If you're feeling something that you want to do and it feels like expansion, but then everybody else is like, no, you can't be doing that. It's just no. If that person they're talking to gets scared by that, then they have chosen to go the route that frightens them less. If no one ever told them to stand firm in their absolute truth, to stand firm like a tree, like their roots go deep, then they're gonna go the way other people told them to. I sincerely believe free will is a choice. Oh, so I felt tormented by the ideas in the Bible all my life till I was 33. 7:33 on the clock. They say that's when they threw him up on the cross. Some people don't believe he exists or existed. Some people don't think it was him that was on the cross. Well, now what do I do with that information? Because I listen to people. I pay attention to what they're expressing, what they're feeling. So what do I do with that? Some people say he was on the cross. Some people say that wasn't him. Some people say he was never was. Well, I'll tell you this. I started having a intense spiritual awakening. That's putting it lightly. We won't go into detail about it. And it started occurring, I believe, because I felt so backed in a corner with what was happening at the time. I felt so backed in a corner, and I had been hiding who I am for everybody else to be comfortable. But one day, I couldn't hide anymore. And I vividly remember telling my mom I wanted to get some mirrored aviators. The only thing she said to me was, "Quit hiding." And so I was like, "You're right. I am me. Why should I be hiding? Somebody needs to be a good example." Because I see so many people hiding who they are. So many people shrinking and shirking beneath the notion of cringe. Oh, I don't want to be cringe. But the way it worked for me, now some of this is kind of going off the topic just a little bit, but I feel like it'll all makes sense. I hope so. I choose to believe. I choose to know with a gentle knowing. I choose to know with a gentle knowing. I forgot where I was going with that. So yeah, all these ideas, everybody, you know, saying it's this way, not that way, not this way. That's not God. This is God. That's not God. That's the devil. That's not the devil. That's God. I say, if what they call God is infinity, then the devil works for God. I feel like that's going a little too far out there for now, though. I say, no matter how many people you meet, there's always going to be somebody out there you never fathomed could exist. And I started seeing that partly because there are those that only operate in the light. There are those that only operate in the dark. There are those that go back and forth. And then there are those that think they're in the light, but they're in like a soft light. Because if they saw the full brightness, it would terrify them, and they would run for the shadows. Do I believe in God? I believe in the I am. Because that's what we all say. I am this, or I am this person. I am. And then I see things occurring all the time. Things that nobody can explain. And they can't even put effort into caring to explain. They can't put effort into even thinking about it because it is too far outside of their realm. Sometimes you might get into a conversation or something that might teeter on the edge of an argument with somebody that calls themselves a Christian. And you may say your piece, but then they'll get all wibbly and wobbly and upset, and that's how you know their foundation is shaky. Their foundation is built on pebbles, not stone. Because they're getting fearful. But from what I've seen and experienced, fear is the opposite of faith. I feel like I should say fear is a tool. You know, like when you're walking through some place and you're like, whoa, I ain't going that way. I'm going this way. And you just know. But then, like, something like in a conversation, or if you're just sitting at home, or you see something on TV and you start worrying, oh. I say, at that point, fear has ceased to be a tool, and it has become your master, just messing with you, making you squirm. I say, when fear has ceased to be a tool, it must be evicted swiftly and without mercy. I feel like I've gone on long enough for now with this video, so I'll leave you with this. The two things that broke me free from the torment I was experiencing my whole life from the ideas in the Bible was, number one, when I got backed into such a terrible corner that finally I had to be who I am. And then I ran across the Golden Book of Saint Germain. And that's like, it opened my mind, and it burned away all that fear. Then I saw the Saint Germain Press books. I believe I started with Volume 1, Unveiled Mysteries. I love that book. I love all of them. Ugh, I love all of them. I hadn't read all of them, actually. There's a lot to them. They're written in the 30s. Somebody said the other day, what is one thing you wished, would have been done for you when you were younger, or something like that? I try not to wish for things to have been different in the past. I say the worst mistake you can make is to regret, because if you regret, you did not truly learn from your mistake. So, I don't wish this, but if I had to, which I know I don't have to, I would say it'd be nice. It would have been nice if somebody would have handed me a copy of the Golden Book of Saint Germain when I was younger. Because it's very simple, easy to read. There's not all that disturbing stuff in there. Not all of the fear mongering. You have to do this or you will burn for eternity. There's none of that. I told somebody, this one lady, I was like, there's a lot of disturbing stuff in that Bible. She said, it's not disturbing if you understand it. God bless. So long. It's kind of like when people go around telling others, you need Jesus. But always the people they say that to had already been turned away from any nice notion of what they call God. They've already been turned away from any good notion of what the one they call Jesus was saying. And I still don't understand yet why they think it's okay to say that to people. But I believe it's because they're clouded, they're veiled, and the Saint Germain Press books tore away that veil for me. I talked to a few people at the Saint Germain Foundation. I told them those books saved my mind, and it feels like they saved my soul. These two ladies I talked to, they said that's how it was for us too.